These ICE agents, they are the most traumatized federal worker. For all the traumatized federal worker, the ICE agent is the most traumatized. If you think about it, first they were told, we got to abolish your entire industry. We got to abolish ICE. Then they were doxxed. They've been doxxed. Then we were told Border Patrol, their colleagues there are whipping people on the southern border. That turned out to be a hoax. That was completely false. And now they can't even cover their faces.
Because why? Like, why should they be able to? I mean, I know that you're supposed to believe that they should because they want to, and Trump says it's good. Like, why? Why should they be covering their faces? Like, you're focused on them being traumatized, supposedly by the lies about them. What they're doing is evidently so terrible that they don't want their identities to get out. And you're doing that to them, by the way. Like, let's say that ICE existed, but wasn't being dispatched all over the country to hunt down people who've been here in this country for 30 years or whatever, good members of their community or whatever. They might still exist. They would not be doing and perpetuating evil on a daily basis. You're making them do that. To the extent that they're traumatized, the good ones, the people who actually like maybe thought that they'd be serving America or whatever, they're traumatized by what you're forcing them to do. The machinery of industrialized mass deportation, the institutionalization of evil, that I bet is probably pretty traumatizing. No, I don't think that they're still traumatized because some Democrats 5 years ago said, hey, maybe we don't need ICE actually. I think that they're big boys. I think that they can survive that. I think it's probably the violence. I think it's the migrants that have been murdered in the streets of America during this push. It's seeing them separate families, seeing members of ICE sexually abusing people in captivity, seeing this entire like cottage industry of like, well, what if we have alligator Alcatraz? What if we do the Speedway Slammer? Isn't it cool? Isn't fascism fun and memey or whatever? That's the sort of stuff that can traumatize people. And not just ICE agents. I think it's traumatizing to a lot of Americans seeing their government turned into this tool for evil on a daily basis. Let's jump ahead, graphic 2. How about like leaving kids, like you raid, you take the parents and you just leave kids in the car. And then hope maybe someone in the community will come get them. That could be potentially traumatizing, maybe. Maybe like knocking people off of ladders in your rush to get them. People literally dying while fleeing you. Fathers being beaten by masked men. A Marine's father beaten. Again, we could go through literally 6 months now of stories that we talked about. And I'm sure, Viviana, you can think of ones that I'm forgetting. But she's worried about them being traumatized by the possibility that they would have to stand by their actions with their identities visible. What do you think?
If I turn my heart cold and I don't think about all of the horrific stories that you just said, maybe they're traumatized because you're not training them, because you're just throwing these goons untrained on the street with their anger and their frustration, and they don't know how to control themselves. They're emotionally immature. They have no skills to de-escalate situations. Let's take undocumented people out of the mix. They are violating the rights of citizens on a daily basis, and they have to go home and look in the mirror. Maybe they keep their mask on when they go home because they can't face themselves. It is absolutely ludicrous to talk about the protection of these people when so many citizens are under duress, are being threatened. There are American citizens that are afraid to walk out on the street because they're dark skinned. There are people who are calling on their neighbors. It's a culture of terror that's been created, but we're supposed to look at the violators. We're supposed to look at the people who are, actually, doing the terror. And we're supposed to be sympathetic to them. And it's just, it makes no sense. Train them, get them to be beefed up, learn how to be out there and do whatever you think is supposed to be being done, because clearly they're not qualified.
Well, remember, I mean, I don't know if you were on the episode, but we talked about how not only are they like they're showering potential ICE agents with money, like canceling their student debt, giving them massive signing bonuses and all that stuff. They're also taking down the expectations for how much like education they have. They're doing this in other areas of the government as well, but for ICE, and they're lowering the amount of training that they actually get. And they're going to places
and they lower the age.
Yeah, and they were saying that we're to start going potentially to like Turning Point USA things to get people. So I honestly, I'm not that worried about them being traumatized because I think they're self-selecting to choose people that would get off on this sort of stuff. I don't think it's actually going to hurt them psychologically or emotionally. I could be wrong, but I see, like, we don't even have time to go to the graphics of ICE using a 5-year-old girl as like bait to catch her dad. It's grotesque. But this is the stuff they're doing. That is traumatizing. And in particular, don't care so much if it traumatized the agents who perpetuated the evil. The 5-year-old girl, I feel like, might experience some trauma there. But no, Kayleigh McEnany or whatever, that's who that was. She doesn't have any empathy to spare for a 5-year-old girl watching her family members get dragged away just for the masked secret police.